My aunt was an abusive, manipulative nut. Her daughter felt she could not cut, but when she got older, she also became bolder. Now Auntie is stuck in a sad little rut. My mom is the oldest of 4 children and gave birth to me a few months before her youngest sister, let's call her Melda, gave birth to my cousin, Rita. From the day she brought Rita home, Melda groomed my cousin to be a beauty pageant kid. She started getting Rita's hair done as soon as possible and raised Rita to only wear dresses and very dainty shoes. When I briefly lived with my aunt, she used my mom's money to provide my care and get Rita new clothes and hair. Melda had a full-time job as a grocery store cashier and received child support from Rita's father, who was in the US Air Force, but she spent thousands of dollars to ensure her daughter was always beauty pageant ready. When we got older, I was a grade level ahead of Rita. Melda made Rita compete with me academically, regardless of our class differences. We were both excellent students and lived in different states, but Melda would call my mom once a month and ask detailed questions about my report cards. If mom told her I earned all A's, Melda would implement various punishments until Rita had just as good or better grades. At first, Melda would belittle her daughter with taunts, then she would deny buying Rita any cookies, toys, etc. until her grades improved. When we started hitting our growth spurts, Melda would make Rita wear old dresses and shoes that were too small until her grades improved. Naturally, this made life difficult for me and my mom. Rita grew to resent me, and she often did petty things to get me into trouble, like breaking my grandma's doll collection, breaking dishes, and even fighting me a couple of times when I refused to be bullied. Mom stopped discussing my grades with Melda, which worked until Mom and I moved back to her hometown, where Melda lived, and enrolled in the same school as Rita. Then Melda began to volunteer at the school on report card days just to find out my grades and Rita's grades. This continued into our college years. I ended up dropping out of college after 3 semesters as I had developed a drinking problem. I had to undergo a few months of treatment. Rita was enrolled in college by this time, and Melda maintained her competition streak by calling my mom to report how well my cousin was doing before snidely pointing out that I was no longer in college. I changed phone numbers after Melda called me one day to tell me that Rita was applying for study abroad, then asked how my borderline minimum wage retail job was going. The irony was that Rita would become a 4th-year junior when I finally returned to college. More on that later. By the time I returned to college, our grandma, Mom and Melda's mom, was in a nursing home due to dementia-related problems. She had been diagnosed while we were in high school, but the disease was progressing rapidly. As the eldest child, Mom quit her job to spend every day at the nursing home, talking to Grandma, reading to Grandma, etc. Mom wanted to have Grandma return to Grandma's home, but Melda refused. Melda had secured the power of executor of the estate shortly after Grandma's diagnosis, meaning that she could place Grandma in the home despite her siblings' protests. It also meant that Melda technically owned Grandma's home and the land on which it sat. Fast forward a couple of years, Rita began dating a local pastor's son, let's call him Lucas, and got engaged in April after dating for 3 months. Melda, coincidentally, was a good friend of Lucas's mother. Melda wasted no time bragging to my mom about how Rita was engaged to marry. I was graduating from college at this time, which got under Melda's skin. I still didn't talk directly to her, but I did keep up communication with my cousin. When I talked to her about the upcoming wedding, Rita revealed that Melda was planning to take Grandma off life support and use the money from Grandma's estate and insurance to pay for a lavish wedding. Rita also revealed that she did not want to marry Lucas and was fed up with college. She was a 7th-year senior, basically living the life Melda had created for her. I mentioned to my mom what Rita had said about taking Grandma off life support, and Mom was livid. She called Rita, and they crafted the revenge together. Revenge. In June, Melda decided to host a very over-the-top party to celebrate the engagement. Mom and I chose not to attend as we decided to visit Grandma in the hospital together that night. So Rita's actions were reported to me by Rita herself, but I will phrase them. Melda had organized the evening so that the parents of the engaged couple and the engaged couple could stand to tell everyone in the room how amazing their respective families were. Lucas and his parents had already gushed their praises for Melda, and it was Rita's turn. Rita thanked Melda for raising her and Lucas's parents for raising such a good son and then announced that the wedding was off. She took the opportunity to tell Lucas that she did care about him but would not marry him just because it was what their families expected from soon-to-be parents. Rita then left the party and spent the night with one of her friends from high school. This humiliated Melda on a personal and financial level. She had already paid non-refundable deposits for a caterer, wedding reception hall, dress, limo, etc., and she was out of hundreds of dollars. Furthermore, Melda and Lucas's parents were very against premarital intimacy, which made Rita's unexpected announcement even more appalling. Melda had planned to keep the pregnancy as hidden as possible with the dress she had selected, the floral arrangement, etc., and Rita was expected to remain complicit. She called Rita and raged at her several times, but Rita stood her ground. She returned the car Melda had bought for her and informed Melda that she was also dropping out of college, which would leave Melda thousands of dollars in debt on student loans. Their drama took a backseat when Grandma passed away in early August. By then, Rita had gotten a job in a corporate office, and showed up to the funeral looking very happy and pregnant. After the funeral, we had a reception. Melda called Mom, me, Rita, my uncle, and another aunt into a room together to announce that she would sell Grandma's house and land and split up Grandma's life insurance policy money as she saw fit. It was the expected announcement from her, and she phrased it as something Grandma would have wanted. I don't know who was smiling bigger, Mom or Rita when they announced they were contesting her power as estate executor. As Grandma's diagnosis of dementia had been announced just days before Melda secured her position, Mom had consulted a lawyer to contest the decisions Melda had made. Mom and Melda went to court, and the matter was resolved less than a year later. Melda's position as executor of the estate was overruled due to Grandma's mental capacity. This meant that she received no money directly outside of a life insurance policy Melda had taken on Grandma. Rita is paying off her student loans, but Melda is still paying off other debts from living beyond her means. Mom agreed to let Rita and her daughter move into Grandma's old house, and she and Lucas are co-parenting.